welcome back. It's time to install the machine that we will use to attack. For this course, I have chosen the Owasp Broken Web Applications project. Why this machine? Well, first of all, it's very simple to install. It takes quite a little time compared to Kali Linux. It will only take us a minute or two to install it. And it also has a bunch of vulnerable web applications hosted on this machine that we can use to target and attack. Now, to download it, we can navigate to the link of sourceforge.net/projects/OWASP-BWA. Under this link, we will have the download button, and then just by clicking on it, we can start the downloading process, which will ask us where we want to save the Owasp Broken Web Application virtual machine. Now, since I already have it downloaded, I'm not going to do that, but I just saved it right here on my desktop. And as you may notice, once you start downloading it, it will take a couple of minutes because the file size is around 2 GB large. But once you finish with the downloading, you will have this zip file right here. So in order to get our files that we need, we must extract this zip file first. After you extract it, you will get a folder like this, and inside of that folder, you will have these files. Now, these are the files that we need in order to create a virtual machine. So let's get straight to creating it. Okay, open up your VirtualBox, and we're already familiar as to how we can start the process of creating a virtual machine. Navigate to Tools and click on New. Now, we get this window that we got for our Kali Linux as well, and here we're just going to call it OWASP-BWA. Now, of course, you can call it whatever you like. I'm just going to leave it with this name, and since this is also a Linux machine, under the type, we want to select Linux. The version of Linux, however, should be all the way down to Other Linux 64 or Other Linux 32-bit. Let me select Other Linux 64-bit, and I will proceed on Next. Under the memory size, you can leave it anything between 512 megabytes up to 1 gigabyte. It really doesn't need any more RAM memory. I'm just going to leave it on 1 gigabyte of RAM, and I'm going to proceed with the next step. This is the part that differs from Kali Linux installation. Instead of going with create a virtual hard disk now, we want to select use an existing virtual hard disk. And under that, we want to go to this icon right here, and we want to click on Add. Once we do that, we want to navigate to where our folder is with extracted files from our zip file that we downloaded. Double click there, and you will have all of these options. Now, the file that we want to choose right here is going to be Owasp Broken Web Apps CL1 without any extension as these ones have. So we want to select this one, and you will notice that its size is also the smallest. Let's select it. Let's double click it again, and let's click on Create. Before starting this machine, I just want to mention a few things. If we go to Settings and we go to Network Settings, we also want to change from NAT to Bridged Adapter, the same thing that we did with our Kali Linux machine. But with this machine, we need to be a little bit cautious because this is a vulnerable machine. It hosts a web page with a bunch of vulnerabilities. So only use Bridged Adapter if you're running this machine in a safe home network. If you're running it in your own network, then feel free to use Bridged Adapter. Don't use Bridged Adapter in a company network or in a public network or anywhere else that there might be untrusted devices. Even though it's a virtual machine, but nonetheless, it's always good to have maximum security as possible. So select Bridge Adapter, under name select the adapter that you want, and click on OK. And that's pretty much it. All we have to do right now is start the machine, and it will start the process of installing all the things that it needs, and that pretty much takes a couple of minutes, not too long. So let's just wait for that. And here it is. After 2 or 3 minutes, the machine is ready to use. Now, you might notice that it doesn't have any display whatsoever. Instead, we get this command line interface that we can use. And it's made like this so that machine can take as little space as possible and it can be made as fast as possible. Of course, in order for us to actually be able to access this command line, we need to log in first. And it tells us down here that we can log in with username root and password Owasp BWA. So let's type that in. And it will give us something like a terminal. And we can use that terminal to run the commands, the same commands that we can run in a regular Linux terminal, such as ls, whoami, and a bunch of other commands. We can also ping other devices. And it also gives us our IP address right here, which in my case is 192.168.1.4. And this is another reason that we set it to bridged adapter. It gave me an IP address that I can visit from any network device that I have connected to my network. So I'm just going to go from my host machine and type in 192.168.1.4. Now, in your case, this will probably be a different IP address, so you can either check it right here, or you can also type the command ifconfig, which will also give you an IP address of Owasp BWA. So let me navigate to the IP address of this virtual machine inside of my host machine's browser. And this is the page that it should open up. Here we have many things from training applications to realistic, intentionally vulnerable applications. We also have some old vulnerable versions of real applications. And we have applications for testing tools as well as some other things as well. Now, there are a lot of things here. We're not going to cover all of them, but we're going to cover some that are aimed at discovering most common website vulnerabilities. Now that we got it set up, let's also make sure that we can communicate with this Owasp BWA machine from our Kali Linux machine. So start both of them. We already have our Owasp started. Let's also start our Kali Linux machine and wait for it to boot up. So here is our login screen. Let's log in. And to be able to check whether we can communicate with our Owasp machine, what we can do is we can simply just open our terminal. And by the way, once again, if you're not familiar with terminal, make sure that you check out bonus section on Linux basics. There we teach the basic commands of Linux terminal so you can get familiar with it, and it hopefully will become your second nature. In Kali Linux, to open terminal, we use this icon. It will open up this command line where we can type our commands, and in our case, we want to ping 192.168.1.4. And once again, this is in my case. In your case, it might be a different IP address. So I'm just going to press enter. And if you get an output like this, that means that we successfully pinged this machine. So the connection part is good. They can communicate between each other. And in order to close off this command, you can type Ctrl-C simply, and it will finish with pinging. Okay, awesome. Now that we set this up, the next thing and the last thing that we want to do in setting up our environment is we want to just create an account on TryHackMe website. So that will be a rather short video. We've finished most of our work, and let's create the TryHackMe account in the next video. See you there.